Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English&Inspire. I'm Ava.
And I'm Leo.
Congratulations on completing day 7. Today is day 8 of our 30 Days English Speaking Challenge. And today's topic is 30 Days English Speaking Challenge, Day 8 English Conversation at a Job Interview.
Yeah, we are tackling what might honestly be the absolute peak of English anxiety today. I mean, we've all been there, right?
Oh, definitely.
You're just sitting in that waiting room or, staring at your own reflection in a Zoom lobby.
Ugh.
The nerves are completely overwhelming.
Just frantically running through vocabulary flashcards in your head.
Exactly. Just terrified of making a single grammar mistake.
Right, because I think most learners assume their biggest enemy in that room is their non-native accent or maybe a limited vocabulary.
Which makes sense why they'd feel that way.
Totally. But diving into this stack of sources for our deep dive today, and this covers everything from business English guides to university communication courses, it actually reveals something incredibly reassuring.
It really does.
The data shows that the #1 reason non-native speakers struggle in interviews is not their grammar. It's their structure.
And that just changes the entire premise of interview preparation. I mean, our mission today is to show you that a job interview in English does not require perfect native-level fluency.
Right. You don't need to be Shakespeare.
No, not at all. What you actually need is structure, clarity, and just the right preparation. Because if you're armed with those 3 tools, you can walk into any professional environment and, really demonstrate your true value.
So let's start right at the beginning, because the interview actually starts the absolute second you sit down.
Oh, yeah. Before they even ask a question.
Exactly. Your heart is racing, the adrenaline is high, and you have to speak your very first words in English.
And those first few seconds, they really dictate the energy of the entire conversation. You want to establish a baseline of warmth and competence immediately.
So how do you do that without stumbling?
The simplest way is to just lead with professional gratitude. So a phrase like, "Thank you for having me," or "I appreciate the opportunity."
I like that. It's simple.
Yeah, it gives you a very safe, predictable, and polite runway to start speaking.
It settles the nerves. But almost immediately after you say hello and sit down, the interviewer is going to spring the ultimate trap on you.
The classic trap.
Right. It is the very first question in almost every interview worldwide, which is, so tell me about yourself.
It sounds like such a friendly icebreaker, too.
It does.
But it is absolutely a trap. Because it's so open-ended, candidates tend to either freeze up completely or they just start rambling out of pure panic.
Right. They start talking about their childhood pets or something.
Mm.
The best way to think about this question is to treat your answer like a movie trailer.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, you are not forcing the interviewer to sit through a 10-hour documentary of your entire life. I mean, they don't need to know where you went to primary school.
Or your favorite weekend hobbies.
Exactly. They just want a 2-minute preview of the highlights that prove you are the right person for the specific role.
And to build that movie trailer, the sources highlight a foolproof 3-step framework, which is the present, past, future formula.
Present, past, future.
Right. Memorizing this structure just completely removes the panic of figuring out where to start and where to end.
So let's break that down for everyone, starting with the present. This should just be a quick snapshot of your current professional status, right?
Yes, but there is a massive linguistic trap hidden right here that we really need to warn our listeners about.
Oh, the actually trap.
Yes, it revolves entirely around the word actually. This is a classic false friend for so many English learners.
Because in dozens of languages, a word that sounds very much like actually directly translates to currently or at this moment.
Exactly. But in English, actually means in reality or, as a matter of fact.
So if a candidate sits down and says, I am actually working as a marketing manager.
It changes the entire tone.
Right. It sounds incredibly defensive.
It sounds as if the interviewer just accused them of lying about being a manager, and the candidate is like correcting them.
Yeah, like, I am actually a manager. Thank you very much.
Precisely. It creates immediate confusion. You must always use currently or right now. So you want to say something like, I am currently working as a marketing manager where I handle digital campaigns.
Okay, so that gives us a strong present. Step 2 is the past, where you build credibility by mentioning a couple of previous experiences. But let me challenge this part of the formula for a second.
Sure, go for it.
What if a listener's past experience isn't directly related to the new job? Say they're applying for their first corporate office job, but their only past experience is working at a super busy restaurant. Do they just skip the past step?
Not at all. I mean, this is a really common fear, but Interviewers are rarely looking for an identical copy of the job they're filling.
Right.
They're looking for transferable skills. If you worked in a restaurant, you didn't just serve food.
No, you managed chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You managed high-pressure situations.
Yeah.
You resolved customer complaints in real time. You coordinated with a fast-paced team.
So you bring up the past to show a trajectory of professional growth.
Yes, highlighting the skills that matter to the new role.
That totally reframes the past experience from a liability into an asset. You're extracting the relevant data for them. And then the final step of the formula is the future.
Right, and the future acts as your closing statement.
Yeah.
You basically conclude your movie trailer with enthusiasm for why you want this specific job.
So saying something like, moving forward, I'm looking to bring my crisis management experience to this role and help your team scale.
Perfect. It shows vision. It connects your personal journey directly to their company's needs.
So present, past, future. A really clean, structured way to introduce yourself without rambling.
But once that intro is out of the way, the interviewer starts testing your abilities with the core questions.
And this is usually where the pressure spikes again, right? Learners assume they need to prove their intelligence by using the biggest, most complicated vocabulary they can possibly think of.
Oh, and that instinct to impress with complex vocabulary is incredibly dangerous in a second language.
Because it backfires.
Big time. When answering core energy questions, simplicity is always your best strategy. Interviewers vastly prefer a clear, easily understood answer over complex, convoluted sentences that are just used incorrectly.
Yeah, because using a massive word incorrectly under pressure doesn't make you look smart. It just forces the interviewer to stop listening to your ideas while they try to decipher what you actually meant.
The sources are totally unanimous on this. A clear, non-native accent paired with a simple, direct sentence structure is far superior to fast, grammatically confusing English.
Makes sense.
The interviewer is evaluating your problem-solving abilities and your professional judgment. They are not grading you on your mastery of obscure adjectives. You just need to focus entirely on being understood.
Right. So when we look at these core questions where you need to be understood, they generally fall into three categories. You have common questions like, what are your strengths?
Right.
You have hypothetical questions like, what would you do if a client yelled at you? And then you have competency questions, which usually start with, tell me about a time, you.
And within those competency questions, there is one specific prompt that terrifies candidates everywhere.
Oh, I know what this is. The failure question.
Yes. Describe a time you failed or made a significant mistake.
Okay, let's pause here because this seems totally counterintuitive. If you are already nervous about your English, isn't handing the interviewer a story about your biggest professional mistake just giving them a giant reason not to hire you?
It definitely feels like professional sabotage, especially depending on your cultural background.
Right, saving face.
Exactly. In many cultures, saving face is paramount. You are taught to never admit weakness to an authority figure. But in English-speaking workplaces, particularly in Western corporate cultures, avoiding the failure question is a massive red flag.
Why is it a red flag, though? Why do they want to hear about a disaster?
Think about it from a manager's perspective. In a fast-paced corporate environment, mistakes are inevitable. A manager is not looking for some mythical employee who never makes an error.
Because that person doesn't exist.
Right. They are evaluating whether you are the type of person who will hide a costly mistake to save your own pride,
Right.
or if you will surface that mistake immediately so the team can actually fix it.
Oh, wow. So if you claim you've never failed, or, you blame a coworker for the failure, you're basically signaling that you can't be trusted when things inevitably go wrong.
Yes. Admitting failure demonstrates a growth mindset. When you own a mistake completely, explain the consequences, and then articulate exactly how you changed your process so it never happened again, you build immense trust.
You prove you're self-aware.
And coachable.
That makes a lot of sense. The question isn't actually about the failure at all, is it? It's about the recovery. But we're hitting a bit of a logistical wall here. If simplicity is key and talking about a complex failure is necessary, how do you explain a nuanced professional mistake in a second language without getting completely lost in translation?
This is where you need a GPS for your storytelling, like a framework that just keeps you on track. And the most universally recognized framework for this is the STAR method.
Okay, let's unpack the STAR method because it is an absolute lifesaver for English learners. STAR is an acronym, right? STAR, situation, task, action, result.
Exactly. So S is the situation. You set the scene and give the necessary context.
Okay.
T is the task. You define your specific role or the exact challenge you were facing. A is the action. You list the concrete steps you took to solve the problem.
And R is result.
Yes. The positive outcome, ideally backed up by numbers or specific metrics if you have them.
You know, if we think about answering a question without star, it's almost like building a house by just throwing loose bricks at the interviewer.
I love that image.
Right. If you just throw random facts, dates, and names at them, their brain has to work overtime to sort that chaotic data into a logical narrative.
But by using STAR, you're doing the cognitive sorting for them. You're feeding them a story in the exact sequence the human brain actually prefers to digest information.
And that cognitive sorting doesn't just help the interviewer, does it?
No, it's the secret to why this method is so powerful for the language learner, too.
Yeah.
Because when you are interviewing in a second language, your brain is under immense cognitive load.
Oh, absolutely. Because you're trying to remember the past event, translate those memories into English, apply the correct grammar, and monitor the interviewer's facial expressions all at the exact same time.
Yes, and that overload is exactly what causes candidates to freeze or start rambling. But if you prepare, say, 8 to 10 STAR stories before the interview, you drastically reduce that cognitive load.
Because you aren't translating and structuring on the spot anymore.
Right, you are simply retrieving a blueprint you have already built.
But let me push back on this a little bit. If every business school, communication course, and English class teaches the STAR method, won't interviewers get completely bored of hearing the exact same robotic structure all day long?
They won't, because STAR is an invisible framework. It's like the skeleton of a body,
Yeah,
You don't look at someone and see their bones, you see their shape and their movement.
that's a great way to put it.
If you use STAR correctly, the interviewer doesn't hear a formula. They just hear a candidate who tells incredibly clear, engaging stories without getting sidetracked.
So let's demonstrate what that skeleton looks like in action. Let's imagine the interviewer asks, "Tell me about a time you showed teamwork."
Okay.
A candidate without STAR might give a really vague answer like, "I'm a very good team player. At my last job at a coffee shop, it was very busy one day and I helped my coworkers a lot so the customers were happy."
And that answer is a pile of loose bricks. It tells the interviewer nothing about your actual capabilities. Now, let's apply the STAR framework to that exact same memory. So, situation. During a busy morning rush at the coffee shop, our computer ordering system suddenly crashed.
Oh, wow. That instantly hooks the attention. Now for the task.
We were suddenly short-staffed, a line was forming out the door, and we had to take orders manually without frustrating the customers.
Now the action. This is where you really show your work, right?
Exactly. Action. I quickly divided the responsibilities with my coworkers. I took charge of shouting the orders directly to the baristas, while another coworker solely handled the cash register to keep the line moving.
And finally, the result.
Because we coordinated our communication instantly, we served 50 customers over the next hour without a single wrong order, and our manager commended us for keeping the crowd calm.
The contrast is unbelievable. I mean, the second answer didn't use incredibly complex English grammar, but it made the candidate sound so organized, decisive, and highly competent.
The framework did all the heavy lifting.
Which means your only job is to fill that framework with the right words.
Exactly.
Which brings us to a crucial transition here. We have the skeleton, but we need to give it some muscle. We've been focusing heavily on the structural ideas coming out of the candidate's mouth. But how do we choose words that sound professional and natural rather than like we just, memorized a textbook?
It really comes down to two very specific linguistic choices. Strong action verbs and phrasal verbs.
Okay.
Many learners default to really weak descriptions. They say things like, "I did the marketing project," or "I was a part of the team that made the software."
Which is a huge missed opportunity. Saying "I did the project" sounds like you just showed up and participated.
Right.
But if you swap that out for a strong action verb and say, "I coordinated the project," or "I managed the software rollout," you instantly signal leadership and ownership.
Action verbs carry so much weight. Words like analyzed, resolved, improved, spearheaded, they paint a picture of an active professional. And alongside those action verbs, you really need to incorporate phrasal verbs.
Phrasal verbs can be notoriously difficult for English learners to memorize, though. But native speakers use them constantly in corporate environments, right?
Constantly. A phrasal verb is just a standard verb combined with a preposition or an adverb, which shifts the meaning entirely. And they are essential because they make your English sound natural, conversational, and efficient.
So let's look at a few high-impact examples for an interview setting. First one is bring up.
Bring up means to mention a topic or introduce an idea. So instead of saying, I talked about the budget issue, you say, I brought up the budget issue during the meeting. It just sounds much more native.
Next is take over.
To assume control or responsibility. Like, when the project manager left, I took over the daily operations.
How about figure out? Because I hear this one constantly instead of the word solve.
Exactly. Figure out implies a process of discovery. We had a bug in the code, and I had to figure out why it was happening. It shows you didn't just apply a quick fix. You investigated the root cause.
And one that is just vital for the end of the hiring process. Follow up.
To check on something or continue communication, I will follow up with the client next week to see if they received the proposal.
But simply knowing the definitions of these phrasal verbs is only half the battle, isn't it? The sources point out that pronunciation is what actually makes them sound natural.
Yes. There is a very specific musicality to how native speakers say these phrases.
Like a rhythm.
Exactly. The secret lies in vocal stress. In a phrasal verb, the heavy vocal stress almost always lands on the preposition, not the verb.
Okay, so you don't say look into.
Right, you say look into.
Yeah.
You don't say write down, you say write down.
So I wouldn't say figure out, I would say figure out.
Yes. And beyond the stress, you have to link the two words together as if they are a single word. So take over smoothly blends into take over. Linking them eliminates that kind of choppy, robotic sound that sometimes affects non-native speakers.
We are focusing so intensely on the physical act of speaking these words, but let's look at how the rest of the body interacts with vocal delivery.
Oh, this is huge.
Because a massive percentage of interviews today happen over a video call. If you nail your star stories and perfectly pronounce your phrasal verbs, but you are like slumped over staring at your keyboard, those words lose their power.
Because your physical posture directly affects your vocal cords. Even on a video call where they only see your shoulders and head, posture matters immensely.
Right.
Sitting upright, keeping your shoulders back, and maintaining eye contact with the camera lens.
Yeah.
It does project visual confidence to the interviewer, sure. But physiologically, sitting up straight opens your diaphragm.
And smiling naturally physically lifts your soft palate, meaning your voice will literally resonate better. You will sound louder, clearer, and more authoritative just by fixing how you sit. The body and the voice are mechanically linked.
It is a biological advantage you can control, even when you're super nervous.
Okay, so we have navigated the introduction, structured our answers with STAR, upgraded our verbs, and managed our physical presence. The interview is coming to an end. The interviewer looks at the clock and says, "Do you have any questions for us?"
The final test.
How do we end this conversation with momentum?
You must have a question prepared. Leaving the room with an awkward silence implies you aren't deeply interested in the reality of the daily work.
Is there a specific question that works best? Because asking about vacation days or lunch breaks right now probably isn't the best look.
No, definitely save that for later. A highly recommended question is, what does success look like in this role over the first 6 months?
Oh, that is a brilliant psychological trick.
Isn't it?
You are forcing the interviewer to shift their brain from evaluating you to literally picturing you succeeding in their office.
It demonstrates that you are already strategizing about how to bring value to their team.
Yeah.
But your work isn't done when you leave the building or close the laptop. The follow-up is a crucial part of the evaluation.
Right, the thank you email.
Sent it the same day or the next business morning.
Mm-hmm.
It should be 3 brief sentences. Express gratitude for their time, reiterate your enthusiasm for the role, and mention one specific unique detail that you discussed during the interview.
Because mentioning a specific detail proves you were actively listening, rather than just copying and pasting a generic template you found online.
Exactly.
But what happens if you send that polite thank you, and then a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, just complete silence? Do you follow up again?
If you pass the timeline they gave you, or if 2 weeks pass with no word, you should absolutely send a polite status check email.
See, I have to push back on this because for a lot of people, sending another email when the company is actively ignoring them feels incredibly aggressive. It feels like you're being annoying.
It feels aggressive from the candidate's perspective. I totally get that.
Okay.
But you have to look at it from the hiring manager's perspective.
Okay.
They aren't usually ignoring you on purpose. Corporate inboxes are chaotic. Budgets get frozen, people go on vacation, projects catch fire. A polite, brief status check does not read as annoying. It reads as professional persistence. It shows you are organized enough to manage your own timeline.
So it shows you won't let important tasks fall through the cracks if they hire you.
Precisely. And hey, even if they ultimately reply and say they hired someone else, Handle that rejection with grace. Send a final note thanking them and asking to stay in touch.
Because corporate needs change rapidly.
Yes, the person they hired might quit in a month.
Yeah.
If you leave a professional final impression, you stay at the top of their list.
Let's do a quick recap of the tools we have unpacked today. You have the present, past, future formula to confidently introduce yourself. You have the STAR method to organize your thoughts and reduce the cognitive load of translating.
You know how to elevate your language with action verbs and phrasal verbs.
And you have a strategy for professional follow-up.
You are no longer going into an interview hoping your English is good enough. You're going in with a structural advantage.
But before we wrap up, there is a final provocative thought bubbling up from all these career sources we looked at. A shift in perspective that might cure interview anxiety entirely.
Oh, this is my favorite part.
Because we have spent this entire session talking about how you can prove yourself to the company.
But an interview is not a one-way interrogation.
Right. This is the crucial reframe.
When you use these structures to present yourself honestly and clearly, it frees up your mental bandwidth to actually evaluate them. An interview is a two-way street. You are testing their communication style. You are testing their culture.
So if you admit a past failure using the STAR method, and the manager reacts with hostility or seems dismissive,
that is vital intelligence for you. It tells you that this company might have a toxic, blame-heavy culture.
by utilizing these frameworks, you stop desperately begging for a job and you start acting like an equal professional looking for the right business partner. You aren't just hoping they pick you, you are deciding if you actually want to pick them.
And that mindset shift changes the entire energy you project in the room. Confidence comes from knowing you have choices.
Your homework for today is to take your resume and draft 3 to 5 star stories based on your past experiences. Then practice them out loud. Do not just read them in your head.
Speak them to a mirror or a friend for 15 to 20 minutes daily. Build that vocal muscle memory so that the framework is second nature when the pressure's on.
Prepare the structure and the English will flow naturally. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. Congratulations again on finishing day 8 of the challenge. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and remember that your experiences have immense value. We will see you tomorrow for day 9. Happy learning.